Hey guys, so I went for a leave-in do yesterday, and it wasn't just a normal leave-in do, like a friend's leaving and going to another job, for example. It was actually the first time I'd been to a leave-in do of someone who's leaving the UK because they're just fed up. So today I wanted to just make almost like a personal conversation with myself, and hopefully I can welcome you into this conversation. I want to talk about how I feel seeing other people leaving the UK because it's real, right? Because for the first time ever, I've seen someone who is my age, who I've grown up with, who's lived in the UK, most of his life, and who's basically got to a point where they're just like, you know what, I'm leaving and I'm going somewhere else. This example is someone who is a GP, so a doctor in the UK, who is leaving the UK because they're just fed up with many things. So the state of the NHS, the state of just pay in the NHS for him particularly, just the weather, which is partly why I said, you know what, I'm going to come out here and make the video outside for a change. They're just fed up with just the direction of the UK. So in terms of the economy and just the state of things, the declining overall quality of life, and so on, and so on, and so on. So this video is just my reflection as I think about this and share how I feel about it. So the way I'm going to talk about it is I'll spend some time talking about why people are leaving the UK and how I feel about it. And then I'll get to the end and actually then just reflect on my own personal take as I think about my life and my family and, what should we be doing at the moment? Should we also be thinking about leaving and why? And why is it that people are thinking about leaving now more than ever? So let's just start at the very beginning, right? I want to just start by saying, if you are also noticing this pattern of more people than usual leaving for some of the reasons I've outlined, jump in the comments and let me know. And if you are thinking about leaving as well, say in the next 12 to 36 months, jump in the comments and let me know as well. And let me know why you are considering leaving the UK. So I want to start by just talking about one of the reasons that my friend and other friends, by the way. So I've just talked about one person. I've known other people, our children's schools decide to go to other places, to like Canada. I've seen entrepreneurs, business people leave to move to places like Dubai. I've seen people move back to the continent of Africa, to Ghana, to Nigeria, to Kenya, to Rwanda, to Tanzania. I've seen people move to Spain, Portugal. So there's been a lot happening, but so far it's been mainly like seeing other people doing it, people on the internet and stuff. But more recently, it's been a lot closer to home, which is what's driven me to actually just reflect a lot more about this. We made a video recently about what happens to your investments and assets if you leave the UK. I think it's worth checking out after watching this video. I just linked to it below and above. Go and check it out. But let's start with the cost of living. Now, because I kept asking myself, the UK has always been a bit like this. It's always been like cold and freezing. In fact, right now, as I'm holding this mic, I am so cold. It's always been like this. But why is it now that there's been this rise in people wanting to leave the UK? First reason is the cost of living. I don't know about you, but everything continues to rise in price. Even though they keep telling us inflation is, 2.6%, 2.5%, keeps hovering around that number. But we know that prices have risen, significantly over the last, say, 2.5 years. And as a result of that, prices have remained high. RPI inflation, other forms of inflation, costs from every angle, taxes, oh my goodness, I got a letter in the other day. 2 letters that really annoyed me. Number one is the council tax, right? And I get why we pay the council tax. Nothing against that. You come and take my bins, you clean the streets. When they do it, it's great. However, the rise in council tax is so difficult to stomach a lot of the time. And it's one of those where if you don't pay it, you're going to be in a lot of trouble, serious trouble. In fact, they'll come after you to pay pretty much the whole thing in a few weeks. Then there was the water bills. I got a bill in from Thames Water saying, your Thames Water bill is rising by £19 per month. And then they're like, this is just an average. It's likely that your bill is going to be higher than that. And that's per month. And bear in mind, A lot of people haven't had pay rises, suddenly happen for them. And then these bills are popping out from everywhere. It's not even just that. Look at the cost of food. Look at mortgage rates for the people who are having to pay, quite significant amounts of their paycheck towards paying for mortgages, because the interest rates remain high for people. Even though the base rate came down a little bit recently, those savings haven't really been passed on to people in the same way. Look at, cost of rent for people who are renting. So cost of living is just ridiculous to the point where a lot of people just feel more than ever like, I'm just working to pay taxes, basically. Oh, and I haven't even talked about business people, business owners, small business owners, deep frustration, national insurance rises, costs, like people who are paying business rates. There's so many things that people just feel like, you know what, like, is it really worth, I think it's starting to rain. Is it, I'm just going to carry on. Is it really worth me actually carrying on this life in the UK? Particularly when, like, if we stop being afraid, if you went to another country, and I'm not saying you should go to another country, I'm just saying, hypothetically, if you went to another country and you looked at how their systems were set up, things could be significantly better for you. And this is where I started asking my friend, I said, like, sorry, I've got to put this hand in my pocket, it's so cold. I said, like, why are you moving, right? And he said to me, this is the GP friend, he said, when I move to Bermuda, I will instantly, my income will be 2.5 times what I have. That's 250% higher. On top of that, I have no income tax, On top of that, I have the weather, because the weather is way better. And on top of that, I can easily come back to the UK. He said to me it's about 6 to 7 hour flight, direct flight back to the UK. And on top of that, he has less hassle, less of the palaver that he's been dealing with the NHS. Not that he doesn't care. Of course he cares. He's a GP. But he cares about his patients, cares about his work. But he also has to think about his own life. Because, we're in our 40s now, early 40s. And, like, it's time to think about, like, when am I going to retire? How am I going to get to that point where I can retire? Oh, there's a dog. There's a dog behind. How am I going to get to that point where I can retire? What do I need to start to do? I don't have that much longer anymore. You might have thought, back in the day, you might have thought, I've got 20 years, I've got 30 years. But do I have that now? Did you see that? There's a dog just jumped at me, and there's another one doing a poo. Anyway, I'm at a heath where people bring their dogs. This is what happens. So this is fine. This is normal. This is normal. If Mary was here with me, she would like jumped massively. But anyway, so people are at that age, where they're thinking to themselves, I've probably got 10 years, What should I be doing right now? What should I be doing right now to make sure that I have enough for myself, for my family, for my children? Like, I don't want to be working past 55. Like, I did a survey in our community. I mentioned this before. People are like, nah, man, I want to be done with that. And then there's a depressing, like, weather as well. I haven't even talked about that. I'll come to that in a minute. So the cost of living is by far one of the biggest reasons people are living. Second is the weather. I mean, look at this, man. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining, but like, I have to be real, right? This is how it feels all the time. I want to just come out, to talk about this, because this weather is affecting me. Like, I feel like I'm really affected by this. My wife, Mary, were affected by this. It's just constantly freezing. And on top of that, because it's so cold, nobody smiles anymore. You rarely see people smiling at you. People are just like, people's faces are frozen. People are depressed. I want you to react in the comments and let me know, like, put one of those like freezing icicle emojis in the chat if you feel the same way, because I feel like this weather is another form of cost to our lives. It's another cost that we don't think about. We think about it, but we don't think of it as a cost, like true cost to happiness. It's a real cost to happiness, because I've been like times when I've been really fortunate and I've been really blessed, by the way. I'll come to how grateful I am about life in the UK in a minute. I've been fortunate to go to warmer parts of the world. And as someone who was born in a warm country, I was born in Nigeria, Like, I didn't really, like, obviously I grew up with it. It was just all I had. I didn't really appreciate it as much. But the cold here, wow. And I've realized that when I go to warmer parts of the world, I just feel happier. Like genuinely feel a sense of creativity, a sense of just general sense of joy, a sense of like, wow, like I feel like this life is really worth living. I think things are great, you know? So the weather is another reason. Like, then the third reason is just general morale and like the mindset in the UK, right? I just feel personally, and this is my personal view, you might have a different view. My personal view in this country is that people don't really like other successful people. They don't appreciate people who are doing well, right? So you notice this, you know, like look at a lot of the policies that have come out related to like taxes and stuff like that. They're just basically penalizing, you know, entrepreneurs and, you know, high earners and people like that. They're really just like targeting basically any sense that you are doing well, any sense that you are investing, you're getting assets, you have property, you have stock market investments, anything, any sense that you might want to leave an inheritance to, you know, God forbid, to your children or to anyone, any sense of that. I just feel like the culture is targeting that. I feel like there's just a sense of like, nah, like everyone has to be exactly the same. Like you can't be seen to be doing well. And even if you showed a little bit that you're successful, people just like appear to hate you. They just don't appear to be happy for you. And it doesn't need to be like that because, you know, I feel like this country, first of all, I'm really blessed to be here. I'm blessed to have, you know, I've lived in the UK now for, I think, 27 years, something like that. So I'm blessed to have been like, to be in this country, to be a British citizen, like it's a blessing. There's so many freedoms that come with it. There's so many like amazing other things that come with it, that come with being here. And I feel like the UK could be great, even though I know we say it, Great Britain, great, you know, there's a lot of great everything, great British this, great British that. I feel like the UK truly could be great, but there's so much that's been done that's making the UK not great and attractive. A lot of people are being put off to the point where they feel like this is it now. I'm being pushed and I now need to do what's best for me to go somewhere else. I feel like the culture of this scarcity mindset, you know, just not encouraging, not encouraging us to want to do more, to earn more. Like, I feel like so many people, like when I speak to some of my friends who earn like quite a lot of money from like their corporate jobs, they just feel like they're giving away like a lot of it. Some people have effective tax rates of 60%. Some, like, they're just fed up, man. People are just tired of giving away their money to taxes. And this is not just income tax, it's everywhere you go. Like I mentioned council tax today. Oh, everywhere you go, man. There's VAT, like everyone's taking everything from you. And it feels very, very difficult. So I don't want to sound like I'm just complaining in this video. I keep repeating to say that how extremely blessed and fortunate I am to be in the UK, because the UK is better than a lot of countries. It's better than a lot of countries in so many ways. But I have to be real as well in acknowledging that living standards have declined and will continue to decline. In fact, I'll tell you what, right? I was thinking to myself the other day about, like, imagine, you know, where we are with the state of the UK economy and, you know, all these forecasts about GDP. It's just so depressing. Like, you think, okay, imagine that their forecasts are saying it's going to be like 0 point something, at best 1 point something, like at best, right? This is forecasting. You know, forecasts are always wrong, right? So if you imagine the next 4 to 5 years is likely to be that we basically get more of what we've had in the past, or if anything, actually a decline. That's what's likely to happen. Although we'll likely be told, and we're constantly being told, that things are better than they are, when in actual fact they're not, right? And then if you think, well, if that's the case in the next 5 years, then that could be the case for the next 10 years. Take your age right now and add 10 to it. Just add 10. So for me, I'll be my early 50s. So that means that potentially, you know, and no one knows the future, but potentially, things could remain the same for the next decade. And if things remain the same for the next decade, a part of me is then thinking, this is where like this, how do I feel about people who live in the UK comes in. If the UK remains like this for the next 10 years, then are the people who are leaving right now really the smart ones? Are they the people who are actually like, you know what, boy, like, you know, I feel like I'm dodging something like a very difficult life ahead. You know, what does that then mean for people's household finances if the UK doesn't really grow and just remains stagnant? You know, we keep experiencing stagflation. We just remain in this like in this almost stalemate where there's just nothing happening. You know, there's the same messaging, productivity, growth. You know, there's all this like, yeah, UK is going to grow, it's going to grow. You know, we're going to harness AI, blah, blah, blah. But are we really? Are we really going to see those things happen? I don't know. The past has said to me that, nah, this ain't going to happen. And the signs I'm looking at the moment don't really point to much boom happening in the UK. Yeah, so I can kind of see why a lot of people are considering leaving. So I talked about cost of living, talked about the weather, talked about general morale in the UK. But I want to just talk about now, like, our children, right? Because, like, a lot of us, and then I'll talk about how I feel, and then I'll wrap up. Like, one thing that I think about a lot as a parent is, what does all this then mean for our children? You know, our parents, my parents, have sacrificed a lot to bring us to the UK and made a life here, started from nothing. And I now have that responsibility to ask myself, what does this now mean for my children? Like, if the UK isn't really saying very much, isn't really growing, and opportunities are declining, people look at jobs. Oh my God, I haven't talked about jobs. Do you know how long it's taking for people to find jobs now? People who have got degrees, they've been to uni, they've got like student loan debt up to here, like so much debt. They can't get jobs in their areas of like study. They're working in like Sainsbury's, driving Ubers and all kinds of things. There's a lot, and people who are getting made redundant left, right, and center. People who like have nice titles on LinkedIn, and the next thing you know, they're gone. They've lost their jobs. Yeah, they lost their jobs, and they're struggling to replace those jobs. Like really, really struggling to replace those jobs. There's a lot of dogs here. Like, I'm surrounded by 4 dogs. There's like 2 German shepherds, and oh yeah, there's a nice tiny one there. That's all right. Okay, this is where I stay still. There's a big dog just gone by. People are like, I read something like a crazy stat that is taking people like something like 38 job applications to even get called to like come for like an interview. Huh. And you think, wow, like, okay, imagine all of this with like the AI, the artificial intelligence, and what's happening. Almost this like direction of travel where a lot of jobs are just being gotten rid of. Anyway, there's just a lot that's colliding that I feel makes this moment almost like a perfect storm. And it's why we're seeing more people consider leaving. And then our children, you know, like, so a big question I'm asking myself is the UK where I feel my children should make a life for the future. Look at property prices. How on earth are my children going to get onto the property ladder if a lot of adults now can't even get on the property ladder? Like, how? And this problem is probably the same in other parts of the world. It's probably the same in America. I don't know. If you're American, let me know. Probably the same in Canada, even though people are going there. It's probably quite similar. If you are in Australia, it's probably the same. You know, so again, there's this confusion. Like, is this the way the world's going? Is there just general discontent at the moment? Is this not unique just to the UK? I don't know. Now, how do I feel about all of this? If I'm honest with you, I feel a sense of FOMO. That's what it is. I shouldn't be saying that, but I'll tell you immediately that I feel FOMO because I feel like, particularly because I'm seeing my friends leave. Yeah. Before it was just people on the internet. I was like, yeah, whatever. But it's because I'm seeing my friends make this move now. I'm like, what does this mean for us? You know, what should we be doing? Now, here's my position. My position is that I don't have any plans of permanently leaving the UK, you know, because like I've made a life here. Like, my parents sacrificed so much. My wife's parents sacrificed so much to move here. And like, we've made a life here, you know, like we have friends, our children have friends, but I know no one knows tomorrow, but I just feel like the best case scenario for me and my family is a hybrid, a situation where like when it's cold, like I have the option. This for me, this is the main thing: is having the freedom and the finances to go and live somewhere else for a few months, maybe like 3 months, for example, or maybe even up to half a year. I don't know. Is being able to do that, like from like September, October time till like maybe March or something, and then come back here because we have life here. We have aging parents. I got parents who are in, much older, say 70s, Mary's parents, 80s, 70s, and 80s. So there's that to consider as well. So there's a lot of moving parts, but my overwhelming feeling is that I feel a sense of frustration, FOMO, and also weirdly gratitude, because sometimes when you're like, you're looking at the negative aspects a lot. Sometimes you have to pause and ask yourself, what am I grateful for? What are the positives that I also need to, so cold, man. You see this country. What are the positives that I'm also grateful for? Hiya, you're right. And one of them is, as much as like, I'm like, oh man, look at this weather. Like, it's so depressing. Mary, my wife, also said to me, well, babe, at least the garden's getting watered. So like, even with the difficulty, you kind of have to flip the script and go, do you know what? I'm like, at least I'm out in nature. I can kind of come and touch, experience a bit of nature. So even though like there's a negativity, I always have to kind of remind myself that there's a blessing around us as well. Like I'm not experiencing a flood or like wildfires in the UK. Yeah. Like I feel like I can just walk around and like, kind of do my thing and get on. Yeah. Things aren't perfect, but like, I feel I can kind of like enjoy a lot of benefits. I can go to the countryside if I wanted. I can like take days off and do stuff because like I've looked after my finances and I can afford to do that. I can travel if I wanted to, but there is that question that still remains, which is, would I retire here like long term? Like what do I want? And so for me, that remains a question mark. And like I said earlier, the best case scenario is this hybrid between life in the UK and life somewhere warmer. But I want to hear from you guys. I've just like shared what I think casually. Kind of woke up this morning and thought to myself, you know what? I need to make this video. I need to just talk about like how I feel, because I know a lot of people are thinking about this topic and it'd be good to know what you think. So please jump in the comments and let me know. And by the way, if you're thinking about, before you head off and watch something else, I'm going to point to a video here. I haven't even said, please subscribe to the channel if you're really enjoying it. Like, I hope you can see the, the genuine, the authentic nature in the work that we do, and the work we're doing. I hope the work we're doing is contributing really positively to your life more generally and to your finances. So please subscribe to the channel, like the video and all of that. And by the way, before you head off, go and watch this next video I made earlier, Mary and I made, about what happens to your investments and assets if you are living in the UK. And yeah, jump in the comments, man, and react to this video. Let me know what you think, and how do you feel about other people living in the UK? Guys, thank you so much for watching. And as always, in all things, be thankful and seek joy. Bye for now.